Just some little tips while installing or building your drum triggers. These I call are the pan or the plate type. Simply what we got is a piece of sheet metal, some high density foam, and on the top I'm using carpet foam, which you normally would use a yoga mat about 1/4 thick, 10 millimeters, somewhere in that area. Now, first of all, installing the foam. When installed, you want it practically the same shape as your sheet metal plate. And in the center of it, where the piezo transducer fits, I like to split some holes in there, and on the bottom side we have a hole to relieve it. And we have our L brackets, and we have our bolts to it with nuts, bolts, and washers to where we can adjust the trigger up and down against the drum head. And when installing the piezo transducer, there are several ways that you can go with, and they are a few different sizes of transducers you can use. These are the 35 millimeter, which works great. The 27, though, folks, I tell you, works just as good. The trick to these piezo transducers is getting a good one. And I've used the Radio Shack ones. They work great. And there is some other ones that I got from Amazon, works great. These come from Amazon, they work great. There are a number of ways that, now this is on the plate type or the pan type, and I've used the cone triggers as well, but this is installing the pan triggers, let's call them. Now, you can simply, and I've used this to make sure that these are going to work, and I'm in the process of redoing. But you can simply take some duct tape and tear you off a piece to where, to set that down flat, to where that it comes out around it a little bit. And that works, because that's the way mine's working. I'm just I done it to test it to see if it was what I wanted. They work, but they don't have that vibrance or that loudness, and when you hit them, they don't have that crackle or that, just that bright sound, I guess, that you're looking for. But it works. And if you want more of a softer tone to your drums, that is a good way to do it. You also like the more softer tone, you can also use two-face tape, double sticky two-face tape foam, and put it on the bottom and simply turn it over and press down, and that works as well. Just a little softer tone. It ain't got that wham rock beat like you look for. And the two, I'd rather have it with that sensitivity sound that, you know, it picks up all of the little ghost notes, especially on your snare. I'd rather have it that way, because you can always go into the drums and adjust them out. You can adjust the loudness, the sensitivity, the triggering, and all of that stuff inside your drum modem. And another little tip too, if you get it a little loud, that's fine, you can come down. But on a lot of my programs and my drums, the snare is maxed out, 127 anyways, and I can't go up, but I can come down. Now, try to move on with this video. When installing these, you want to center it up with as close as you can, because that, if you've played drums quite a bit, that's where you're normally going to hit. Folks, I mean, I know you're going to miss it and hit up and hear some. And you want that sensitivity to come out on these metal plates that when you do miss it, it don't plumb drop your lick. And when you're doing a drum roll, I kind of like it up here as well. Now, your drum head, of course, is tighter up here, and you're not going to get that real crackle sound. But when you're doing a drum roll, as you did on your acoustic, you can start up here and work your way down, and it gets a pretty good drum roll. I've mentioned two ways that you can do these. The two-face tape, or put the duct tape on the outside. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to simply take and I'm going to clean my surface with a piece of sandpaper or a scrubby pad, which mine is gone. It's probably the drum setting on it. But either way works, and you just want to clean up around it, because when you stick this super glue or crazy glue or whatever you're using, it will stick better. And you want it clean as well after you do that. And I always take a little scrub pad and hit this just a little bit. And be very careful with these things. The wires will break and you can damage these things, which I didn't hit the floor. I hope it still works, but hey, we try. One more way you can do this. And it works good as well, but it kind of gives it that a little more softness. With a hot glue, just put a little right here on it and hold a little pressure down on the piezo transducer, and that will work as well. It's just not got that, I don't know, that sensitivity, that crackle that I look for, especially in the snare. So these are some ways that you can install this. Now, like I said, I'm going to use the super glue. Only thing about the super glue, once you put this stuff on it and you need to get this thing off, you might as well throw your plate away, transducer, and start all over with new. Because once you get those things prized off, it will not work right. And that is something to consider. That's the reason I taped these and tested them before I glued them. Because these ain't easy got off once you sand it and get it prepped right and get this super glue on there. If you want the ability to change them, especially if you got foam on the bottom of it, you can just simply tape it and make sure you get it up good, and that will work. Alright, I'm going to get this cleaned up and get this thing back together. Okay, I have the piezo transducer installed, and what I do when I mount these is I take some hot glue and dab, like for instance this top part of the foam, I just dabbed it, about every 3 inches apart with hot glue and set it down, and just put a little pressure on it until it dried. That is the best way to me, is to do this, because honestly, if you don't put anything, the metal will slide down in again the bottom of your shell of the drum, and it will not allow it to flex. If you noticed that, see, there's a gap in between your foam metal plate and your shell. You always want it a little smaller, because when you hit these, you want them to be able to flex. So keep that in mind, and you will get a better sound as well.